Welcome to another episode of Barbarian Saturdays, and this week I decided to take a look at Dragonheart 3, a movie which is a pale imitation of the original, a pale shadow of its former glory. I have to admit, I really love the original Dragonheart and watched it many a time in the ancient VHS player, but Dragonheart 3 is just not a classic in any sense. It's a pale attempt at a sequel, or I guess prequel in this case, because this movie actually takes place before the first movie that was made in 1996. Of course, that also raises another question: why make a movie, especially a movie that is connected to another movie about 20 years later down the road, where dragons just in again? It's like, now's the time to hit the iron while it's hot and make a Dragonheart 3, even though this is about going to be made 15 years after the last sequel. I suppose there's been other franchises that have had long gaps between sequels. The Land Before Time franchise is definitely one that's seen those. But I'm not sure why they thought to resurrect Dragonheart. Honestly, I would have rather been able to buy the original movie in the $5 bin than this movie. Don't get me wrong, if this movie wasn't attached to the Dragonheart franchise, I probably would say it's just a passable, low-budget film with dragons in it and magic, and then I wouldn't have to wonder what happened to all the spellcasters when it comes to the original movie. Because you can't establish that you can cast fireballs and enslave dragons' minds in this movie, the prequel, and not have any of that stuff mentioned in the later movies. There has to be some explanation, I suppose, for how all the ancient knowledge of spells was lost or something. But if you have ancient magic in the Druids, you can't tell me that the ancient Egyptians also wouldn't have magic, or that the Chinese wouldn't have magic. It raises all kinds of questions that just didn't need to be raised, just so you can shove in more fantasy magic stuff into the Dragonheart franchise. If you're going to do that, I would have advised doing it in a sequel, an actual sequel. I mean, let's face it, you could have just said Drago is sent to Earth from heaven, that the gods, for whatever reason, have decreed that they want dragons once more on the Earth to renew humans' faith and belief in a proper symbol for justice and valor, and that they decided the dragon would be the representations of those virtues. Something. It's better than nothing, okay? But with Dragonheart 3, it's implied that dragons are again on the verge of extinction, if not already extinct, and Drago comes from space inside of a meteor. So was he shot from Dragon Heaven? And that's why the Druids mentioned the symbol of a falling star and it coming from Draco. Is Drago a heavenly dragon that was sent with new baby dragons that were conjured up out of nothing? Or do dragons breed in Dragon Heaven and therefore dragons can never truly go extinct because there's thousands of them just not on Earth? It just raises more questions than it had to. I'm just saying, a more thorough explanation of Drago being some new magically conjured dragon from the gods would be much better than implying that there's a dragon heaven with dragons that are living and breathing and breeding, but they suddenly have to wait for some unknown ritual or something to send a dragon to Earth with some dragon eggs. And why would you send Drago, a male dragon, to act as a guardian, but not the mother of the eggs? Not to mention, why do the eggs explode when they're dropped? Are they, like, related to Prinnies now, all of a sudden, from the Disgaea franchise? Because whenever you pick up a Prinnie and throw it, it explodes. No matter its level, or if it's a divine being. Yes, you can have a Prinnie god, and it'll still blow up when you throw it. Don't ask me why, it just does. And the curse thing on Drago sort of makes me think of Lady Hawk, to be honest. Because as the curse sells on Drago, he becomes unable to actually move or do anything during the day, only having any real ability to fight or do anything at night. But it also doesn't really explain how the curse is broken either. I mean, even if you want to argue that Gareth acting within line of the ancient code would offer something to Drago because they share hearts, it doesn't explain how he's able to just shatter the curse with it. If it's had something to do with, if there was some sort of connection there, why wasn't it ever found by our resident magic user? Sure, he's a newbie that doesn't know that much, but you think he would have found something during his course of research, because he'd be looking specifically at dragons. Or did our evil sorcerer just burn pretty much all their knowledge getting rid of all the old scrolls as much as possible because he didn't want it to share, and that's why all the ancient knowledge was lost, and in the future, magic was reduced to untying knots and switching places. But even a teleport spell, if it lets you switch places with your enemy so they can take an arrow in the face for you, is still a pretty useful ability. So, again, where'd all the magic users go when it comes to the original movie? I know I keep harping on that, but it really does make me wonder where they're at when it comes to the original movie. This is why it's usually not a good idea to add elements to a movie that are more fantastical than the original itself was. The first movie was relatively well grounded outside the whole dragons are real thing, and they can share their hearts with you and grant you near immortality, because as long as the dragon's alive, you'll continue to live. Dragonheart 3 seems to argue that if you kill the person that the dragon's bonded with, it'll also kill the dragon. I don't know if the dragons refined this process further to make that impossible, if the sorcerer is just plain wrong and full of bullshit when he said that if Gareth died, the dragon would die, and he just doesn't know any better. Again, I'm not sure if there's an actual conflict with continuity, or if it's just ignorance being spouted by the characters, or if the writer was unaware of the whole Draco has to be the one that takes the fatal blow, not the person he's bonded with. It just raises lots of questions, I'm just saying. Questions that didn't need to exist. And to make matters worse for me, they're planning apparently a 4th movie, which means the series is going to get again. I wish they would just let Dragonheart just rest. I mean, if you're going to have to do anything, just re-release the original. Like, I'd like to see that on a DVD I can pick up for cheap, at Walmart or something. I'd even pay $10, $13, $15 for that. I mean, it's an old movie. Don't expect me to pay $20, $50, pay like $30 for it. I mean, seriously. $15 would be my limit on the original. And I'd really like to see that on DVD shelves again. But this, it's not even really worth paying $5 for. Not to mention it raises all kinds of other questions, like, why would bonding with a dragon give you magic powers? Not the regeneration powers, but actual magic powers. And oh wait, they did try to explain that. Apparently by casting a curse on him, Drago was able to pass on the powers of shadow magic onto Gareth for some reason, because apparently being enslaved by an evil wizard that focuses his powers in the moon gives you the ability to teleport between shadows, which makes absolutely no sense to me. And if you can do that, why didn't our evil sorcerer guy ever use this ability? I mean, the ability to simply teleport behind people and backstab them before they know what's happening is a godsend of an ability. It's something you could easily use to your advantage. Teleport in, stab someone, teleport back out. It makes the whole question of why on earth you need to enslave a dragon even more crazy. I'm sorry, I keep harping on the whole magic thing. It just raises too many questions for me. That being said, till next time then. See ya.
She grows on you, does she not?
Like a thorny vine.